Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Pisces November 2023 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, clairvoyant. Now we're going to use the William Blake Tarot. William Blake was an Englishman who was born the mid-1700s, died around 1820, I think. Now he was a mystical person, very mystical, and, well, he was a mystic, I would say. He was also a poetic genius, up there, in my humble opinion, with the likes of Shakespeare himself, if you want my honest and humble opinion. And he was also a very prolific artist, and in his art, that mystical approach to or view of the world is expressed. Now, with the result of which, you may well have a very different interpretation of the artwork than I do. Now, I might use my pen to point out some of the salient features of it, but the suits, for example, are called things like poetry, music, science, and painting, as an example, instead of the usual ones that we have come to know in other decks. But you'll find that this is a deck which will enliven your creativity, I think, and certainly of all the signs, you are imbued with creativity, are you not? And I find that people have a very creative response to this deck when I use it with them directly. Speaking of which, do you know, I've done a number of one-on-one clairvoyant readings for people from different parts of the world over the course of the last month by FaceTime and Skype. And if you might be interested to see what's involved in that, just check out the information that's in the description box below. I've also done a number of healings for people from different countries around the world as well by FaceTime and Skype. Now, the gift of healing was provided to me, well, when I say provided to me, the healing comes through me and not from me. You'd understand the difference. I think I might have mentioned that before. But it's done on the basis, it's provided on the basis that I am not to receive anything in return for it. And so I offer it willingly and happily for free. And without any catch, nothing will be sold or recommended. There's nothing suggested at all. Now, readings, of course, I need to charge for, and the major currencies are set out in the fee section on the website, which you can have a look at the end of this video, because I think you might find a lot of other interesting things on my website, you know, dealing with how to approach astrology, among other things. Now, let's get the thing underway for you now, shall we? Because this is, I think, going to be a good month for you, so let's get things happening and see what comes up. The Four of Poetry. You see, we just spoke of poetry, didn't we? And this is the Four of Painting. 2 fours. Poetry and painting. This is 2 Major Arcana. Mystery. Indeed. A lot of lunar energy around that, I have to say. There is the sun, and isn't this the best time of year for the sun to be shining upon you? And here, finally, there is what? Here. Union 21. Excellent. Well, why don't you come now, sit down here as our usual practice with me. You and I can feast on the imagery contained in these cards together while I do the reading for you. What a great month this looks like for you. Now, there's a couple of minor arcana. I might deal with them first. The feminine principle here. Good luck in turning things off. I might start with... No, I'm not. I'm going to start with this card here, Mystery. Instead, I think it's actually really calling out to me. Now, this energy here, it introduces the feminine principle into space and time. Now, men, do not be concerned. We all have aspects of male and female within us. It's just that they surface depending on the psychology and anatomy of the person involved. Now, what we have here is, I think she's represented by the triple goddess Hecate in Greek mythology, who invokes the lunar power of the subconscious. Now, her sacred colors are white, red, and black, and they symbolize her womanly aspects of maidenhood, of mother, and of old woman of a certain age, may I say. And her phases, well, they are the crescent moon, the full moon, and the waning moon. And her rulership is over heaven, earth, and the underworld. Now, her left hand here, which is the materialistic side, it rests on a book, but she has her legs crossed, and she also has her right foot, which is her spiritual side, resting on that book as well. And this signifies that its knowledge, although hidden, occult, and mysterious, is in touch with the spiritual realm. Now she communes with the crocodile energy that's there. Look, that's normally in the Fool card. I won't go into... Well, look, the ancient Egyptians couldn't work out the genders of crocodiles, and they thought that they just spontaneously gave rise to life. So it's almost like a life from nothing. And in many respects, you will be creating from nothing during this period as well. Now, what we have here hovering above her is her cat-faced bat, which is her totem creature, along with a, well, I imagine that's a raven, because I happen to know that's her bird. It's an oracle of magic, and her hair is long and flowing, a symbol of her power over men and nature. Certainly the Piscean woman has a power over me. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. Now, the image of this triple goddess, and maybe it's just me, but it's sort of suggestive of the female genitals. These flanked figures there, they represent the naked labia, and her skirt is a veil over the vulva, and the triple-headed, or triple heads here, they are the hooded clitoris. The whole package symbolizing the vagina, of course, which is the gateway to female mysteries. And here we have a framing of palms in an arch, which was a sign of virility or sexual interest here. Now in the border, angels symbolize the invisible and mysterious forces linking the worlds of spirit and matter. And the date palms that you see there and the wheat stalks, I think they symbolize her as a provider of spiritual sustenance, which the roses and lilies, which are down here as well, they together signify the sexuality and fertility associated with the feminine principle. Now, put together, this suggests to me that this is going to be a time when you have access to your intuitive powers. There's been a period of healing, I think, that you've overcome. You'll have a great desire for independence. But importantly, you have increased self-confidence, and I think you will be discovering your own truth here. Now, she is in touch with her feminine abilities, and she can trust them completely. She perceives and is connected with her own inner voice, that internal guide and healer. And I think what will happen is that, like these other flowers and date palms down here, you will find a fertile oasis in the innermost reaches of your being. The more you accept yourself and share with others, the deeper the clarity of your perception will become. This is, I think, the beginning of a new creative cycle for you. You will be asserting your independence, a lot of self-esteem, and you'll become aware of intuition as a gift. And it is a time, as I say, for discovering that oasis which is within. You now have access to your intuitive powers. Develop them more fully and guard your independence. Now, are there areas in your life in which you allow others to influence you rather than trusting your own intuition? I will say this to you: seek out water as often as you can. It's very good for you. If you can meditate near water, good, but just sit and look at it and learn from it as much as you can. And say to yourself, I deeply honor and value the human being that I am. I am intuitive and perceptive. I trust myself and the harmony within me. I honor my sense of integrity, and I trust my intuitive abilities. Now, having got that, I will go back to this card here, which I was intending to go to first, and it is the Four of Painting. Well, like a lot of these things here, there is a sort of a Jewish or Hebrew or Old Testament imagery associated with the artwork, because of course this was made, in the mid-1700s in Europe, in England in particular, and into around about the 1800 period. Now I would suggest that this is the figure of Job, and around him are his daughters, and you see, his daughters constitute his real wealth, and they all have aspects of the arts that they're engaging in. Now, he's a very prosperous man. If you read the story, he is prosperous and then goes through the most terrible things, but it's all restored to him. And these sheep here indicate a period of his wealth. He is recounting to them the story of his life and the trials that he went through. And in particular, if you read the book, the word Satan comes from the Hebrew ha-satan, which means the prosecutor. And in that book of Job, it was ha-satan, this spiritual being that was the prosecutor, who said, look, the only reason why Job is on your side, God, is because you have blessed him with everything. But if you send some drama towards him and send crippling problems to him, he'll turn away. So that's the actual meaning of Satan. It's a prosecutor. It wasn't the evil person. That came later in Christian theology, much later. But here he is holding his hands up towards the heavens, although in some respects it has been obscured by... And recounting the story of his life, he sees all these visions in his imagination again. But again, his hands are upstretched towards the heavens and the divinity, I suppose. Now, the good thing for you here is that this is the sun in the third decan of Capricorn, the 13th to the 21st of January. Well, Capricorn is a feet on the ground, eye on the prize sort of a sign. And those with the sun in Capricorn have a realistic, grounded approach to life, I think, that can be seen no matter how problematic the rest of their birth chart happens to be. But the sun here is energizing the Capricorn earth, and material benefits and power are the result. Now, the sun in astrology is the symbol of your dynamism or power, and Capricorn is the application of that power in a useful way. So I see that you will be having strong foundations here, stability. You may well have a tight rein on the budget. You could be financially cautious and saving for the future. There's a sense here in which you are going around protecting yourself here. I think what we have here is that you have great integrity again and character. Now, there is a sense to me that this is, well, maybe to do with the subject matter of the painting, a very material, very financial sort of a card, a very standard of living type of a card. And there's the chance here that you might be tested to not give away your personal power. And I think you're going to need to choose about where and to whom you say no, or where you stand up for yourself. Now, sometimes you just need to pull up the drawbridge across the moat and stay within your inner sanctuary, But certainly I think that financial and material security is going to be important to you, and there are solid foundations here for that. You're willing to work for what you want, and you'll have confidence in applying yourself to the world. You are a dependable person who acts with integrity. And I think that there is here the fulfillment of your personal goals and dreams. Is your life, your behavior like I spoke about that moat, a rigid fort or castle? Or does your life or your behavior need more order and structure and solidity? Study the different aspects of power. You'll find a good work called The Prince by Machiavelli for free on the internet. It's well worth the read. But say this to yourself, because this is a time when you are going to have power. I offer my power in the service of love. Now, what's this for a poetry up there got to say? Why don't you go back to where you belong and let's have a look at this. Okay.
harmony. Well, I wonder. Let's have a look here at the painting itself, where we do see a woman and a bearded old man standing by a river that's populated with, certainly with swans, and if I'm not mistaken, on the other side over there, you might just make out their pink form, flamingos that are there. Now, I think that this symbolizes the river of life in its rich flow, at which male and female, innocence and experience, beauty and wisdom stand side by side in harmony, to use that word. Now, the two figures here, they're clothed in really simple and unpretentious robes, and they raise their heads to gaze into a glow which is coming down from above, don't they? Now, that heavenly spotlight indicates that they are eternal forms whose heightened awareness enables them to spiritually merge with their environment. I think they could also represent Adam and Eve, returned to the garden in their old age after restoring their own inner, harmony, again, to use that word. Now, their hands, they're raised up in gestures of gratitude and worship, and the branches of a tree, they use that Garden of Eden thing, the tree of life hovers over their heads, and their long flowing hair, I think, suggests that theirs is a happy marriage of freedom and knowledge, and they stand on the spiritual bank of the river, with nature over here being represented by the other bank, and whose flamingos they're playing in paradise by the stream. Now, the surrounding willow trees that are there, I think they're associated with the goddess whom we looked at before, the feminine goddess, and her creativity and intuition. Now, these two swans that are near them confirm that all the creative energies, both natural and spiritual, and in harmony. Now, this is Venus ruling the third decan of Aries. Now, you might think that is a problem because Aries is ruled by Mars. However, Mars is in the third decan of your sign itself, Pisces. And so Mars actually is quite useful to you, particularly for those people born in the last third of the month. And because Aries is directly opposite Libra, where Venus is at home, Venus is going to be in detriment. And so you think, what's the problem here? You've got Venus, the feminine Venus, sitting with aggressive, warlike Mars. Well, what Venus is, of course, is in the evening, she's the evening star. Well, there she really does represent beauty, intelligence, grace, relationship, and love. But Venus can also be the morning star. And for me, the energy that I receive from Venus as the morning star is that of the warrior queen. And so she's able to sit quite well with the warrior of Mars. This is talking about completion, unity, and the possibility of new beginnings. This is a green light to success for you. There's a foundation here, the first stage to completion. Maybe you're thinking about setting up a new home or moving to a new home. Now, Venus, the symbol of beauty and love, combines with Aries the principle of new beginnings. The heart pushes forth and seeks the development of the beautiful in new directions. That's Aries. But before the new can arise, the old must be complete. The conflict between opposites must be resolved in a way which will further you on the way towards your highest goal. Tensions in relationships can work positively when the individuality of each partner is recognized and respected. You see, this then makes it possible for you to support one another in moving forward. And this 4 here is completion, power, and security. I think that something beautiful is making its way into your relationships. Now, you may notice at first as the usual way of doing things are being called into question and discussed openly. Do you know that clarifying the old is a prerequisite for a new oneness, a new beginning, don't you? Are you prepared to accept your partner as she or he is in spite of your differences? And what areas are in urgent need of clarification or resolution? If there is some tension between you and someone else, now is a good time to clarify and resolve that interaction and complete the old. And say to yourself, completing the old frees me for the new. Now we're going to go beneath that and see what this has to say. Whatever this is, and this is the sun. Let me look at that. Well, I can't get away from this Eden theme, can I? Because what I see here is this is the spiritual Eden, a state of surpassing joy and beauty arising from complete confidence in your direction. Now, the central figure here, I think, is that Jesus Christ figure of the Christian New Testament, who glides upstream between the banks of innocence on the left and experience on the right, with the tree of life again growing on both sides. Now, on the left shore, there's a woman who's picking fruit from a tree, isn't there? And another one is nursing her child. Well, on the right shore, there are two elders, two old people of wisdom with a child of innocence. And in the background, the two shores are spanned by the sun, signifying that innocence and experience are joined at their source by imagination. Now, the children in the river represent the spirit and soul reborn as Adam and Eve, reminding us, I suppose, in some way of the biblical passage that said something to the effect of, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, the Jesus character there is not fully immersed in the river, as are the children, which I suppose signifies his divine status, but in the forefront. What is this woman doing down there? You see her in the green? She is down there using her left hand, which is the hand of materialism, rather than the right, like that being of spirituality. She's stooping over to sever the thread of life and the cord of remembrance, the last attachment to old consciousness. Now she's walking on the surface of the water, unusually, which goes to show that she is actually not part of mortal life. Now, you might have heard of the Fates, those three women who had the silken cords that were through which they directed everybody's fate. There was Morta the crone, who cut the thread of life, bringing death. Well, I think that this one is Atropos, that Greek fate who cuts away the material flesh. Now, to her, this is the river of forgetfulness, which in the mythology was called Lethe. Now, soaring in front here, now that is the figure, well, who would that be? That could be John the Baptist, perhaps, or maybe it could be Saint John. Saint John was, well, popularly he was called the beloved disciple, although in fact nobody was ever named the beloved disciple, so that's left up in the air. It's probably you, if you want my opinion of it. Now, he is an emblem of energy coming to greet Jesus, which is a triple emphasis that this world of imagination is the world of eternity. And as I say, note that his right arm connects the river and the sun, while it's fate's left hand that disconnects. Do you know the sun is the source of all life here and represents success and abundance? And this is going to follow you in your life at the moment. This energy is going to get you through tough times, and the sun will illuminate your path after, what I think has been a very trying time for you. Well, embrace your goals and give it everything you've got. If you've had tough times, things are going to get better. Look at the children here. Be childlike and remove the layers of negativity that overlay you. Be like them. They don't know what negativity is. There's a highly creative energy here. Fulfilling love relationships, wisdom, spirituality, and transformation. This is a definite yes. Do you get the feeling of people moving in together or marriage here? There's success, good fortune, optimism, and happiness. The fulfillment of your wishes is possible here and now. So relax and give yourself up to the dance. The right partners will find each other. Now, what task or project is on the agenda for you now? Visualize the light and warmth of the sun in your chest and heart, and for the next few days, remind yourself several times daily that the sun is shining in and through you. And say this to yourself: I work well in teamwork situations. I enjoy making contributions to group efforts. I am a cooperative person, and I am in harmony with the divine light which fills me and guides me. And now, quickly, sadly, because I think I'm aware of your time, let's have a look at this thing, union, which is, I can't get away from this thing. Certainly there's a person in the middle there, naked. Naked we come into the world. This is the last card of the major arcana, and naked we go out of the world. But I'm looking at these ovals here, and I'm thinking of the chapter 1 of the book of Genesis in the Hebrew Bible or Christian Old Testament. This is the creation of light on the first day. This is the separation of the waters from the firmament on the second day. This is the creation of land and separating it from the waters on the third day. This is the creation of the lights in the sky, the sun and the moon on the fourth day. This is the creation of, what is that? Yeah, fish and birds of the air on the fifth day. And this is the creation of animals and humans on the sixth day. Well, this is talking about the completion of a project. Your efforts are finally paying off. It has been, I think, something of a long, hard haul for you, hasn't it? But you're almost there. You've got new things to do and successes ahead of you. And this is a reminder for you to finish what you've started. You are learning to take control of your own destiny, and you're using the power of your will to get results. Could be some travel involved in. You see, now you see the world and yourself as they really are. And all the garments and masks have become useless because you are at one with your original nature. You are caught up in the perpetual dancing motion of the universe, and the boundaries of your small I dissolve in orgasmic union with the universe. You'll be very gifted at finishing things off and starting things afresh, I see. And it's possible for you to see things as they really are. The stage is set for a new beginning or a favorable completion, and the events in your life are in harmony. Now, from what aspects of your life is it time to free yourself? Is there a journey or an enterprise waiting to be set in motion? Say, I love to travel. I love to explore the unknown. I deeply value making a contribution to those around me, and I am one with the universe.
Well, I told you that was an interesting deck, didn't I? And I think you'll agree with me that it was. And what a wonderful month it's going to be for you. Don't you deserve it? Really, you do. Do you know what? I love doing your readings. I look forward to seeing you each month, and in particular, look forward to seeing the subscribers. You're very, very dear to my heart. Well, I guess unless I see you privately, then I'll see you again next month. And until then, remember one thing, and it is this, that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, it's bye for now.